Welcome back. Now to the emotional reunion of a cardiac arrest survivor and his rescuers. The mountain bike coach nearly lost his life on a secluded trail, and as if by a miracle, a nurse happened to be jogging right there at the same time. It's an incredible story of the right people being at the right place at the right time. Here's Lou Goose.
I used to race bicycles.
For a 45-year-old,
Played a little rugby.
John Toftoy is in great shape.
If you ski the Berkey, I'm in the elite wave.
He exercises so much, it's almost comical.
Any room I'm in, I'm always like, well, I'm the healthiest guy here.
That helps make John a perfect coach for the Minnetonka High School mountain bike team.
Just a lot of things to be thankful for.
And combined with no family history of heart problems, that makes John about the last person you'd expect this to happen to.
For the first person I've ever talked to,
Yeah.
been in cardiac arrest.
11 days ago, John was riding through the woods with the team at Theo Worth Park in Minneapolis when something felt off.
I don't know how else to describe it other than when I've been pulled over by the police before. Like, you get that pit in your stomach.
He made it to a main path just in time for fellow coach Tony Caruso to find him.
You would never think it would be this.
As Tony called 911,
I was 3 miles into a run that day.
ICU nurse Grant Martin happened to run by.
Don't know Grant, never met Grant.
10 seconds, I knew John's in cardiac arrest. With zero resources in what we had, the one thing that saved him was CPR.
Grant aggressively began CPR, and within 6 minutes, Golden Valley Police were there, with Golden Valley Fire and North Memorial EMS able to bring John back with a defibrillator.
My heart wasn't beating the way it should.
I was like, are we all good? And you're like, no.
As fellow cycling coach Brian Kesson, an ER doc was able to help.
It all happened that fast.
Yeah.
Everybody came, right moment, right time.
I don't remember talking to you.
Reuniting with his rescuers just 11 days later is special.
I mean, it's just overwhelming gratitude is the only thing I could describe, for you guys having my back.
John calls his survival story a miracle, not coincidence.
Just feel like God has a plan for my life, and this wasn't the time for it. Life's not over. I just, for some reason, have to go through this process right now.
The married father of 4 still gets to bike with his kids, and after he recovers from an additional open heart surgery next week,
So it monitors my heart rhythms.
That's good.
Yeah.
John expects to return to coaching while moderating his training.
We think exercise, I'm gonna be super healthy. Well, maybe there's a sweet spot where you gotta exercise, but you're not supposed to race intense efforts every year. Hey, we'll go biking in a little bit, okay?
Lou Goose reporting there. So his intense overtraining over decades is the best explanation John's received for what caused this. John's been told that it's not uncommon for people who train so intensely in a sport like cycling at his age to develop calcification in his arteries despite being seemingly super healthy. That's what surgeons are going to address in next week's surgery. Good luck to him. Well, the Twin Cities have about 1 million more trees than we did a decade ago. Can you believe that? But it really doesn't feel that way because our shade is shrinking. New DNR data shows the Twin Cities tree canopy shrank by 11%. That's because pests, disease, some questionable planting decisions have wiped out a lot of mature trees. The emerald ash borer did most of the damages. In fact, communities lost about 563,000 ash trees between 2013 and 2023, and the removal continues. Some trees were even cut down earlier this year to slow their spread north and west.
Over the last 10 years or so, we've been removing approximately 10% of our ash trees every year. Unfortunately, we'll likely keep seeing that border move further and further.
In St. Paul alone, the city removed about 35,000 ash trees from parks and boulevards, helping drive a 30% drop in its canopy. But the city planted nearly 1 replacement for every tree cut down. So more trees, less shade, at least for now. Those young replacements may need decades to produce that same canopy. A scholarship honoring Alex Pretti now has its first recipients. Pretti is the ICU nurse that federal agents shot and killed during Operation Metro Surge. Sammy Salinas shows us how his legacy of caring lives on.
6 months after Alex Pretti was shot and killed by federal agents, the memorial honoring him is still vibrant.
It's so emotional, and people are just spilling it all out right there.
This is where, in times of doubt, Mika O'Hurley comes.
It helps shush the imposter syndrome and just remind me, I can do this. And they believe in me, So like, why can't I?
He's one of 3 recipients for the Alex Pretti Scholarship for those going into healthcare, awarded by the Minnesota Nurses Association Foundation.
We see ourselves in Alex, in the work that Alex did in the community, both at the bedside and in the community.
Chris Rubish is the president of the association.
Included with this scholarship in particular is the applicants turning in an essay that includes some details around how they're currently living out the ideals and the values that during Alex's life.
Not a lot of men in nursing. There's even fewer trans men in nursing. And I think that, it's safe to say that Alex fully supported all kinds of neighbors and community and patients.
Mika, originally from California, is a farmer and artist, but has worked in end-of-life care. He was accepted into the U's Master of Nursing program, but financially wasn't sure he could make it work.
I just reached a point where I'm like, okay, I want to spend the second half of my life being of service.
But he says this scholarship was a sign. He made a post about it on Threads and says he received an outpouring of encouragement, including from Pretti's sister.
She said, actually, the fact that a 51-year-old got this would make him really happy. Yeah.
Mika says his future in nursing will be his way of honoring Alex Pretti.
Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.